Hello. Early in the morning, as the first rays of sunlight filter through the canopies of the ancient trees, Lynn, an 18-year-old girl from the countryside, carries her mother's old wicker basket and steps into the forest behind the village. Her long black hair is tied up high, flowing with each gentle breeze. Over her shoulder is a handkerchief embroidered with patterns that her grandmother meticulously made for her last year. The forest today is vibrant. The chirping of the birds blends with the rustling of the dry leaves under her feet. Like a symphony of nature, Lynn loves this forest, where she feels a sense of freedom and peace that cannot be found anywhere else in her small village. Today, Lynn has a special mission, to pick as many ripe purple berries as possible to make syrup for her grandmother, who always tells stories about this forest when she was young. The berries deep in the forest are the sweetest, my dear, she used to say, her eyes sparkling as she reminisced about her youth. Lynn smiled, walking along the familiar path, her keen eyes observing every bush. The dark purple berries, tiny and hidden among the green leaves, made her heart flutter. She knelt down, carefully picking each berry and gently placing them into her wicker basket, afraid of bruising the forest's precious gems. But the forest is always full of surprises. As she walked past a low thicket, Lynn suddenly discovered a wild strawberry tree heavy with fruit. The clusters of ripe red strawberries, sparkling in the early sunlight, looked like dangling rubies. Lynn exclaimed, unable to contain her joy. She tasted one, the sweet and tangy flavor spread in her mouth, making her close her eyes in delight. Mom will love this strawberry jam, she thought, quickly picking more, imagining the scene of the whole family gathered around the dining table, enjoying the strawberry jam she made herself. The deeper she went into the forest, the cooler the air became, carrying the fragrance of the earth and sky. Lynn heard the sound of a babbling brook nearby. Curious, she followed the sound, stepping over moss-covered stones. By the stream, the crystal-clear water flowed sparkling, reflecting the sunlight like a natural mirror. Lynn sat down, placed her wicker basket beside her, took a sim fruit to taste, and admired the stream. She delightedly noticed small fish swimming playfully beneath the water's surface. Suddenly, a tiny white rabbit peeked out from the grass, its round eyes looking at her curiously. Lynn smiled, took a red strawberry from the basket, and gently placed it on the ground like a gift. The rabbit hesitated, then jumped over to sniff it, finally grabbing the strawberry and darting into the bushes. Lynn burst into laughter, her laughter echoing through the forest, blending with the sound of the stream. But Lynn's journey was not over yet. She decided to explore a little more before heading back. After walking for a while, she discovered a strange corner of the forest that she had never been to before. There, among the tall ancient trees, was a bush full of glossy blackberries, a rarity in the area. Lynn was surprised. She never expected that the familiar forest concealed such a treasure. She picked a few, carefully wrapped them in her handkerchief to bring back for her little brother, who would surely love this unusual fruit. As the sun rose high, shining through the thick foliage and creating shimmering patches of light on the ground, Lynn realized her basket was brimming with blackberries, strawberries, and a few raspberries. She felt tired, but her heart was filled with joy. On her way back, she hummed a folk song that her mother often sang, her clear voice blending into the forest atmosphere. She thinks about the stories she will tell her grandmother, about the white rabbit, the sparkling stream, the mysterious raspberry bushes, and the sweet fruits she has carefully picked. For Lynn, the forest is not just a place to search for fruit, but also a place to preserve memories, those simple moments that she will carry with her for a lifetime. As her figure gradually disappears behind the trees, the forest continues to whisper its secrets, waiting for the next visit from the little girl with the wicker basket. In the fields where the rice stretches out like a lush green carpet, there is a little girl named Lynn. Lynn is only 15 years old, but her eyes sparkle like the morning sun and her smile resembles the night-blooming jasmine. In the village, people know Lynn not only for her gentle appearance but also for the wicker basket she always carries with her. The wicker basket is neither large nor elaborate. It is woven from dry rattan strands that Lynn's grandmother meticulously crafted many years ago. The tightly woven strands are sturdy yet soft, much like the love her grandmother has for her little granddaughter. Inside the basket, Lynn often keeps a few odds and ends, a small notebook filled with random thoughts, a handkerchief embroidered with flowers that her mother left behind, and sometimes a few wildflowers picked along the way. But the most special thing is that the basket seems to always hold the stories that Lynn shares with everyone in the village. Every morning, as the dawn breaks, Lynn leaves her small wooden house with a wicker basket swinging on her shoulder. She often walks along the path leading to the fields, where the farmers are diligently plowing and planting. Lynn not only passes by but also stops to chat and share. Some days, she brings along a few cakes her mother made, wrapped in banana leaves, to give to Uncle Tam, the old farmer who loves to tell fairy tales. Other days, she brings some flower seeds from her small garden to give to Wy, who always dreams of having a vibrant flower garden. The wicker basket, therefore, is not just a tool. It is like a companion, holding Lynn's kindness and generosity. The villagers call her the girl with the wicker basket, and that name has become her pride. One day, when the rice season turned golden, the whole village was bustling in preparation for the harvest festival. Everyone was busy, from decorating the village gate with fresh bundles of rice to preparing traditional dishes. But that year, a sudden storm arrived just a few days before the festival. The gentle river suddenly became fierce, sweeping away part of the rice fields and flooding many houses in the village. The villagers fell into a state of panic and worry, as their crops were lost and the festival was at risk of being cancelled. Lynn, though small, could not sit still. She opened her wicker basket, took out a small notebook, and began to jot down notes. She walked around the village, asking each household what they needed. Uncle Tam needed some rice to get by. Wy needed tarpaulin to temporarily cover his leaking roof. After that, Lynn took the wicker basket to each house, persuading everyone to lend a hand. She said, "We may lose the rice harvest, but we cannot lose the bonds of our community." Gradually, Lynn's wicker basket was filled with small gifts from everyone in the village. Some contributed a little rice, others gave a few pieces of fabric, and some brought bundles of dry firewood to keep warm. With the help of the village children, Lynn distributed these items to each family in need. The wicker basket, though small, seems never to be empty. It carries hope, sharing, and the smiles returning to the faces of the villagers. The night before the festival, after the storm had passed, the whole village gathered by the riverbank. Although there was no rice to showcase at the festival, they decided to hold a simple yet warm evening. Lynn stood in the middle of the crowd, the wicker basket in her hands, telling the story of the difficult days they had all overcome together. She said, "This basket holds not just items, but also the feelings of all of us. As long as we are together, nothing is impossible." That year's festival was not as splendid as in previous years, but it was one that the villagers would always remember. They sang, they laughed, and they shared stories about the little girl with the wicker basket, the one who brought the whole village closer together. As time passed, Lynn grew up, but the wicker basket was always by her side. It aged, the wicker faded, but it remained as sturdy as ever. Lynn was no longer just the little girl of the village, she was now a young teacher, teaching the children how to read, how to write, and how to love and share. Just as her grandmother and mother had taught her, the wicker basket now held books, pens, and the dreams she wanted to pass on to the next generation. In the hearts of the villagers, the story of the little girl with the wicker basket is still told, as a reminder that sometimes, the smallest things, like a wicker basket, can carry great miracles, as long as they are filled with love and kindness. In a small village nestled among lush green rice fields, there is a 13-year-old boy named Wy who lives with his family in a house with a bright red tiled roof. Wy is a hyperactive boy who loves to explore everything around him, from the fish swimming in the ditch to the bird nests on the mango tree branches in the backyard. But what Wy loves most is to follow his Uncle Ba, his uncle, a skilled carpenter, to learn and do handicrafts. Uncle Ba is not only good at his job but also funny, always telling funny stories that make Wy laugh out loud. One summer morning, when the bright yellow sunlight spread across the dirt road leading to the house, Wy was sitting on the porch, playing with some pebbles when Uncle Ba walked into the yard, holding a saw and a toolbox full of nails and hammers. "Wy, are you free today?" Uncle Ba called out loudly, his voice clear. Wy raised his head, his eyes shining. "Yes, I am free. What are you going to do?" He jumped to the ground and ran to his uncle. Uncle Ba smiled and squinted his eyes. "Build a chicken coop. Your mother said that the chickens at home are always running around. making a mess in the yard. You and I will build a beautiful wooden co-op so that the chickens have a proper place to live. Let's play. We nodded repeatedly, unable to hide his excitement. Yes, let's play, but how do we do it? Uncle, I've never built a chicken coop before. Don't worry, Uncle Bar patted Wee's head. I'll show you step by step. Building a chicken coop isn't difficult, but it requires patience and skill. Study hard, and one day you'll become a carpenter like me. Both of them burst out laughing. Then Uncle Bar led Wee to the warehouse behind the house, which was filled with wooden boards, crossbars, and carpentry tools. Uncle Bar put the toolbox down on the ground, took out a piece of paper and a pencil. Before doing anything, we have to have a plan, he said, his voice as serious as a teacher. We squatted beside him, watching him carefully draw a simple sketch of the chicken coop. This co-op will have 3 main parts: the main frame, the roof, and the floor. We'll keep it simple, but it has to be sturdy so the chickens can't escape. And it has to be airy so they don't get too hot. We nodded, not understanding everything but finding it interesting. Uncle Bar drew a rectangle as the base, added 4 columns at the 4 corners, and then a sloping roof for rainwater to run off. This roof has to be sloping, otherwise the rain will accumulate and the wood will quickly deteriorate, he explained. We asked curiously, why don't you make a flat roof like ours? Uncle Bar laughed loudly. Our house has a waterproof layer, but the chicken coop doesn't. A sloping roof is simpler, and it saves wood. After finishing the drawing, Uncle Bar led Wee to the woodshed. The rough, pine-scented planks were neatly arranged on the shelf. He chose a few thin planks of pine for the walls, a few thicker planks for the frame, and a large plank for the floor. I bought this wood from Mr. Sow's workshop. Good wood, no termites, Uncle Bar said, stroking a plank as if checking the quality. We curiously touched it, feeling the rough surface under his hand. This wood is too heavy. How do I carry it? He asked. Uncle Bar winked. Leave it to me. I'll cut it into smaller pieces. It'll be easier to carry. Together they carried the wood out into the yard, where the sunlight shone brightly, making the wood grains glow golden. We felt like he was on a great adventure, even though it was just building a chicken coop. Uncle Bar took out a tape measure and a pencil, and began to measure and mark the wood. When working in carpentry, the most important thing is to measure accurately. 1 inch wrong, and you'll go a mile astray, he said, drawing a straight line on the wood. We stood next to him, trying to remember his every move. Uncle Bar handed Wee the ruler. Try measuring. It's 80 centimeters long. Mark here. We held the ruler, tremblingly drawing a line, but the pencil line was a bit off, winding like a snake. Uncle Bar laughed. You drew this line. Even a chicken would get dizzy. Try again. Hold it firmly. Don't shake. We did it again, more carefully this time. He took a deep breath, straightened the ruler, and pulled the pencil slowly. This time the line was straight, and Uncle Bar nodded in satisfaction. Very good, now I'll cut. You stand far away. Sawing is dangerous. Uncle Bar held the hand saw, and began to draw smooth cuts. The saw made a steady, shriek sound, sawdust fluttering to the ground like fine snow. We stood there, fascinated. He had never thought building a chicken coop could be so much fun. After an hour, the 2 of them had all the pieces of wood, 4 long pieces for the posts, 8 short pieces for the crossbar, and a few thin boards for the walls. Let's assemble the frame first, Uncle Bar said, wiping the sweat from his forehead. Wee was starting to feel hot, too, but he didn't complain. He wanted to prove that he could work like an adult. Uncle Bar took a hammer and a box of nails, and showed Wee how to hammer the nail firmly. Hold the hammer like this. Hit straight down. Don't let the nail bend, he instructed. Wee tried hammering a nail into 2 wooden bars joined at right angles. But the first time, the nail bent. Oh my God, it's so hard, Wee exclaimed, grimacing. Uncle Bar laughed loudly. You have to learn it only when it's hard. Just stay calm. Hit hard but firmly. After a few tries, we started to get used to it. The hammer's clack clack sound rang out regularly, mixed with Uncle Bar's laughter every time we hit the wrong thing. Gradually, the cage frame appeared, 4 sturdy pillars, connected by horizontal bars. We felt proud, even though his hands were starting to get tired. I did it, Uncle, he exclaimed, holding up the hammer like a trophy. Uncle Ba checked the frame, nodding. Very good, but this frame is not strong enough. We need to reinforce it with a few more crossbars. He took 2 more pieces of wood, cut the ends diagonally, and nailed them to the frame to form a triangle. A triangle is the strongest shape. We remember this. It can be used in anything, he said. We nodded, not understanding everything, but he felt like Uncle Ba was a scientist imparting a secret. After the frame was finished, Uncle Ba and we started to make the roof. Uncle chose a large board, cut it at an angle to make a sloping roof, and covered it with a layer of wire mesh to prevent the chickens from going through. This roof has to be airy, but it also has to protect from the rain, Uncle Ba explained. We nodded, then suddenly had an idea. Uncle, why don't we paint the chicken coop red, like the roof of our house? Uncle Ba thought for a moment, then laughed. That's a good idea, but red paint is very expensive. Can we use the green paint we have at home? We agreed, and the 2 of them brought a can of green paint from the warehouse. We was assigned to paint the walls, while Uncle Ba finished the roof. He held the brush, carefully sweeping each line of paint, but couldn't help but smudge his hands and shirt. You look more like a painter than a carpenter, Uncle Ba teased, making we giggle. Under the sunlight, the green walls gradually appeared, shiny and eye-catching. When attaching the walls to the frame, Uncle Ba let we hammer in a few nails himself. This time, he did better. Each hammer blow steady and steady. You're improving so fast, Uncle Ba praised, making we blush with joy. Finally, the 2 of them attached the roof to the frame, securing it with nails and a few cross slats to protect against the wind. The chicken coop was now in shape, looking neat and pretty. When the chicken coop was finished, Uncle Ba and we stood admiring it. Isn't it beautiful? Uncle asked. We nodded vigorously. It's very beautiful, Uncle. The chickens must love it. The 2 decided to try the chickens out. We ran into the old co-op and herded the chickens out into the yard. The chickens clucked loudly and ran around, causing we to chase them. Laughing as he ran, Uncle Ba opened the door to the new co-op, and we herded the chickens in. The chickens were curious, hiding in the corners, pecking at the wooden floor. They like it, we exclaimed. Uncle Ba laughed. That was a success. But remember, you have to clean the co-op regularly from now on, or the chickens will protest. That afternoon, we and Uncle Ba sat on the porch, drinking lemonade that we's mother made, admiring the new chicken coop. We felt proud, not only because of the co-op, but also because he had learned to work carefully and patiently. Uncle, what should we do next time? We asked, his eyes sparkling. Uncle Ba winked. Build a tree house for me to play in. Okay, we nodded, and both of them burst into laughter, their laughter echoing throughout the yard. The story of we and Uncle Ba building a chicken coop is not only about wooden boards, hammers or saws, but also about family affection, learning and joy from simple tasks. That green chicken coop, standing quietly in the yard, became a beautiful memory of we's childhood. As time passed, Lynn and we became closer. They began to share the little things in life. Lynn talked about her dreams of becoming a famous writer, while we confessed that he had always wanted to organize a photography exhibition to share the moments he had captured. The garden became the place that witnessed their most beautiful moments. One rainy afternoon, when they were both stuck under the small eaves of a wooden hut in the garden, we suddenly took Lynn's hand. Have you ever thought that sometimes a place leads us to a special person? He asked, looking directly into her eyes. Lynn felt the warmth from we's hand, and in that moment, she realized her heart had stirred. Perhaps this garden is the place, she replied, her voice trembling with emotion. From then on, their meetings became sweeter. They planted a small rose bush together in the garden, as a symbol of the growing affection. Each time they met, we would often bring a hydrangea, while Lynn gifted him short poems she wrote about the garden and about him. From then on, Lynn and we became inseparable. The garden remained the place they returned to whenever they wanted to find peace. They tended to the rose bushes together, created new stories together, and dreamed of a beautiful future together. In the following days, Lynn and we began to meet more frequently in the garden. They didn't plan ahead, but it seemed that fate always brought him to the same place at the same time. Each time they met, Lynn brought a notebook, while we brought a camera. They explored the garden together, searching for hidden corners and paths leading to places no one had ever set foot in. One day, Lin took Wy to a corner of the garden where there was an old fountain. Surrounded by wild rose bushes, she pointed to a blooming flower. Do you think that each flower here holds a memory? Wy looked at her, then at the flower. Perhaps, but I think memories are not just in the flowers, but also in the moments we create. He raised his camera and took a picture of Lin standing next to the fountain. Her rare, radiant smile on her lips. Moments like these make Lin's heart flutter. She begins to realize that every time she is with Wy, she feels more alive. Ideas for her novel start to flow, and she writes more and more. Meanwhile, Wy finds joy in capturing images of Lin through the lens. Each of her photos tells a story, an emotion that he cannot find anywhere else. One cool, clear weekend morning, Wy and his father decided to start building a wooden chicken coop for the family's new flock of chickens. Wy, a 10-year-old boy, eagerly held his father's toolbox, while his father checked the pile of wood already prepared in the warehouse. I want to make a beautiful co-op for the chickens, Dad, Wy said, his eyes shining. Dad smiled and patted Wy's head. Okay, but make sure it's sturdy, so the chickens don't run around. The two of them started working. Dad measured and drew a diagram on a piece of paper, explaining to Wy how to make the co-op frame. Wy listened attentively, nodding occasionally like a real carpenter. Dad cut the wood into pieces that fit, while Wy was assigned the task of sanding the pieces of wood so that they were smooth and wouldn't scratch the chickens. Sand hard, but be careful or your hand will get tired, Dad reminded. After preparing the pieces of wood, father and son built the frame of the co-op together. Dad taught Wy how to hold the hammer and hammer the nails firmly. The first time, Wy clumsily bent a nail, making both father and son laugh. Dad patiently guided him again, and this time, Wy did better. Next, they attached a wire mesh around the co-op to prevent the chickens from escaping. Wy enjoyed using pliers to cut the mesh, even though Dad had to stand by and watch. Watch your hands, don't let the mesh scratch you, Dad warned. Finally, they painted the chicken coop bright red, a color Wy chose because he said, chickens will like this color. When the coop was finished, it looked so pretty and sturdy. Standing proudly in the corner of the garden, Wy ran to call his mother to come out and see, proudly showing off his and his father's work. That night, while the family was eating dinner, Wy talked enthusiastically about building the chicken coop, from how to sand the wood to how to bend the nails. Dad just smiled and added, Wy, you did a great job today. I'll let you build a duck co-op tomorrow. The whole family laughed, and Wy knew that, besides the chicken coop, he had another beautiful memory with his dad. Lin went to pick fruit in the garden and returned through the lush green rice fields. Lin, a young girl known for her cheerful personality and sense of responsibility, had just come back home after studying in the city. Hearing that Wy, her mischievous yet kind cousin, was struggling to build a chicken coop to help the family, Lin decided to roll up her sleeves and lend a hand. Early in the morning, as the sun was just rising, Lin arrived at Wy's house. Her cousin was fumbling with a pile of wood, wire, and some old nets. Lin, you're back. This chicken coop is too hard. I give up, Wy complained, holding a hammer while sweating profusely. Lin laughed heartily, her hair tied up flying in the wind. Don't worry, I'm here to help. Remember when we built a house for the ducklings when we were kids? This chicken coop is nothing. She quickly checked the pile of materials and got to work. Lin guided Wy on how to securely drive in the stakes, choose good wood for the frame, and use wire mesh to keep the chickens from escaping. Wy was initially clumsy, but under Lin's careful guidance, he gradually got the hang of it. While working, he told stories, and laughter echoed throughout the yard. Lin talked about picking fruit in the garden, always remembering Wy, while Wy excitedly boasted about the roosters in the village who often competed to sing every morning. If Lin didn't come back, Wy would have left the chickens sleeping outside. Wy joked. By noon, the chicken coop had taken shape. The wooden frame was sturdy, the roof was covered with dry palm leaves, and the door was cleverly made for easy opening. Lin also created a small corner in the coop for the chickens to lay eggs. Wy looked at the results, his eyes shining. Lin is truly a superhero. Thank you very much, Lin. Lin waved her hand, smiling brightly. What kind of superhero is that? Wy just needs to be diligent to do it all. Now let the chickens in and try it. Wee and Lin let the chickens in together. The chickens curiously ran back and forth, squawking loudly as if they were satisfied with their new home. In the afternoon, villagers stopped by to see the chicken coop and praised Wee and Lin. Lin looked at Wee and winked. Next time you build a pig co-op, call Lin. Wee nodded repeatedly, full of gratitude. From then on, every time the chicken coop was mentioned, Wee proudly said, Lin picked Wee as the best chicken coop maker in the village. As for Lin, she just smiled, happy to be back, to be able to create simple but meaningful things with Wee. The sky was still misty when the rooster crowed from the village entrance. Lin woke up, the 18-year-old girl with jet black hair tied neatly at the nape of her neck, bright eyes and a bright smile, prepared for a long day at the market. Lin lived with her mother and grandmother in a small house located in the middle of a lush orchard in a rural area of the West. Lin's garden was not large, but every tree was laden with fruit, cat mango, Tieu Nu jackfruit, sweet oranges, and even sweet grapefruits. Every morning, Lin and her mother picked the ripe fruit, carefully arranged them in bamboo baskets to bring to the market to sell. Today, Lin woke up earlier than usual. She checked each basket of fruit, choosing the most beautiful ones to display. Mom, today I brought some more jackfruit. Yesterday a customer asked to buy some but they were all gone, Lin said as she carefully arranged the golden jackfruit segments in the basket. Her mother, Mrs. Lan, smiled. Yes, remember to wrap it carefully so the jackfruit doesn't get crushed and lose its value. Lin nodded, tied the scarf tightly around her head, carried the basket of fruit onto her old bicycle, and cycled to the market. The road from Lin's house to the district market is about 5 kilometers long, following a red dirt road along the riverbank. Every time she rides her bike, Lin likes to watch the river sparkling in the morning sunlight, the boats loaded with goods passing by, and the birds chirping on the mangrove trees. Today, the sky is clear and the wind is cool. Lin rides her bike and softly sings a folk song that her grandmother used to sing when she was little. Arriving at the market, Lin parks her bike under an old banyan tree, the place she often chooses to sell. The district market is bustling with buyers and sellers. The cries of goods, laughter, and even the arguments of the fishmongers resound loudly. Lin quickly sets up her stall, neatly stacking mangoes, oranges, grapefruits, and jackfruits. She also meticulously places a green banana leaf underneath to make the stall look more eye-catching. Here are sweet sand mangoes, juicy oranges, Lin calls out, her clear voice echoing in the noisy space of the market. Lin sells skillfully and always smiles, so her stall is often crowded with customers. Today, an old lady with a cane walked over, looked at Lin's fruit stall and asked, "Little girl, are these mangoes sweet? I bought 'em to offer to my husband." Lin smiled brightly. "Yes, the mangoes are grown at home. They are very sweet. Just take one. I will peel it for you to taste." The old lady nodded, chose a few mangoes and also bought some jackfruit. Before leaving, she slipped a sticky rice cake into Lin's hand. "Good girl. Eat this to have the strength to sell." Not long after, a group of students passed by the stall, saw the shiny yellow oranges and shouted, "Sister Lin, how much are these oranges per kilo?" Lin immediately replied, "Only 15,000 per kilo. If we buy more, you can give me a discount." The students laughed heartily, chose to buy a few kilos of oranges, and even asked Lin to tell them stories about her garden. Lin talked enthusiastically about the days she climbed trees to pick fruit, about the calico cat that curled up under the mango tree, and about the time she was stung by a bee after accidentally poking a beehive on a grapefruit tree. The whole group laughed out loud. The atmosphere at Lin's stall was always bustling like that. By noon, the sun was starting to get harsh, and the customers were thinning out. Lin sat down to rest under the shade of a banyan tree, eating a banyu the old lady had given her and taking a sip of water from the water bottle she had brought with her. She looked at the fruit stall that was already half empty, feeling happy because she had sold a lot today. But suddenly a middle-aged man approached, his voice curt. "How much are you selling this grapefruit for? It doesn't look very fresh. Please reduce the price." Lin kept smiling, gently explaining, "Yes, this grapefruit was just picked this morning. It's very fresh. One fruit is only 20,000. If you buy it, I'll discount 5,000. The man glared at her, shook his head and walked away. Lin felt a little sad, but she told herself, it's okay. Not everyone is easygoing. Just do your job well. In the afternoon, a woman selling next to the fish stall saw Lin sitting alone. So she brought over a bowl of hot noodle soup. Eat. I'll treat you. Be careful not to starve. Lin was touched, accepted the bowl of noodles and chatted with her. She told Lin about the difficult days when she first started her career, about how she learned to respond to customers, and about the times she was cheated out of her goods. Lin listened, thinking to herself that the market was not only a place to buy and sell, but also a place where she learned many lessons about life. When the sun set, Lin cleaned up her stall and packed the remaining fruit to take home. Today, she sold almost all of it, enough to buy some rice and cooking oil for her family. On her way home, Lin thought about the people she met at the market, the kind old lady, the mischievous children, the difficult man, and the enthusiastic fish seller. Each person left her with an emotion, a small lesson. When she got home, Lin told her mother and grandmother about her day. Her grandmother stroked her hair and smiled gently. You are grown up now. Going to the market is not only to sell fruit, but also to learn how to live, how to treat people. Just keep smiling like that, and life will love you. Lin nodded, her heart warm. She knew that every morning cycling to the market was not only to sell fruit, but also a journey for her to grow up, to understand more about people and life. One autumn morning, when the cool breeze blew, Wee woke up with a tired body, a hot head and a dry cough. Lin worriedly ran to him, touched Wee's forehead and realized he had a high fever. Wee, you're sick. Let me go call the doctor. Okay, Lin said in panic, but Wee, despite being tired, shook his head. No need. Lin, we don't have any money. Just let me rest a bit and I'll be fine. Lin was worried, but she knew what he said was true. There was only a few coins left in the house, not enough to pay for a doctor or buy medicine. Lin looked around the empty house, her heart filled with determination. If you can't go to the doctor, I'll go to the market and sell all the vegetables today to buy medicine for you, she told herself. Lin took out her familiar bamboo basket, filled with bunches of green cabbage and some fresh fish that Wee had caught the day before. The girl tied a scarf on her head, picked up her heavy basket, and walked out of the house, not forgetting to turn back and tell him, you should lie down and rest. I'll be back soon. The village market was more than a kilometer away from home. The red dirt road was bumpy and muddy because of the rain last night. Lin was small, her thin legs walking in the cold wind, but her eyes lit up with determination. When she arrived at the market, Lin chose a familiar corner, where her two brothers often sat to sell. She carefully laid out the vegetables and fish, then began to call out, fresh vegetables here, freshly caught river fish. Please buy some for me. Lin's voice was clear but full of worry, because she knew she had to sell a lot today to have money to buy medicine. However, the market that day was quieter than usual. There were few people passing by, partly because it was cold, partly because many people had bought the goods early. Lin patiently sat and waited, but after an hour, she only sold a bunch of vegetables for a few coins. The little girl began to worry, her hands clutching the basket, her eyes looking far away. If I can't sell, how can I buy medicine for you? Lin thought, tears welling up. At that moment, Mrs. Tu, a nearby vendor, noticed Lin's worried expression. She walked over and asked, Lin, why are you alone today? Where is Wee? Lin recounted how he was sick, and how she was trying to sell goods to buy medicine. After hearing this, Mrs. Tu's eyes filled with tears. She called a few of her fellow vendors nearby and told them Lin's story. Soon, the news spread, and people in the market began to stop by Lin's place. Some bought vegetables, some bought fish, and some even gave her some extra money, saying, take this and buy medicine for your brother. My child. Lin was so touched that she choked up. She bowed her head to thank each person, her heart warm in the cold of the morning. By noon, Lin had sold out all her goods, her purse heavy with coins. She hurriedly ran to the pharmacy at the end of the market, bought a dose of fever-reducing medicine and some cough medicine as the shop owner had instructed. On the way home, Lin also stopped by the grocery store, bought some dry porridge to cook for him. When she got home, Lin saw Wee still lying on the bamboo bed, breathing heavily. The little girl quickly cooked porridge, mixed the medicine, then gently helped him up. Take the medicine. I bought some good medicine, Lin said, her voice full of pride. Wee looked at his sister, his eyes filled with love and gratitude. My Lin is really good, Wee said softly, his voice weak but warm. That night, when the silver moonlight shone through the window, Lin sat by the bed, holding her brother's hand. Wee's fever had subsided, and a smile had returned to his face. Lin smiled, feeling relieved. She knew that no matter how difficult life was, as long as the two siblings were together, they would overcome everything. From that day on, the story of little Lin going to the market alone to sell goods to buy medicine for her brother spread throughout the village. People not only sympathized with the two orphaned brothers, but also admired Lin's love and strength. And Lin, that little girl, always told herself that she would continue to try, not only to buy medicine for her brother, but also to bring a better future for both of them.